Trump won the election, but why did all the astrologers get the election predictions wrong? And what's going to happen next? What's going to come up in the coming months? Let's look at these two things in this video. Right, folks, Trump won the elections, and it's a massive win. It's a landslide win of historic proportions. It's not just a small kind of last-minute sort of razor's edge type of win scenario. So when you look at this, you would be right to think and to suppose that the astrology should have been showing this, right? This is kind of an event of such proportions that the astrology must be showing it, right? Otherwise, what's astrology for if it's not able to show these type of massive shifts in collective consciousness and in collective development? But the astrologers, most of the known astrologers here on YouTube and elsewhere, they have been predicting a Harris win, right? They've been predicting a Harris win. So how's that possible? And why is it the case? Now, I'm going to tell you exactly why in this video. And in the process, I'm also going to tell you more about how astrology actually works. You're going to learn a couple of things about how astrology actually works. And after we've done that, we're going to look at what's in store for the coming months with this big event now in the bag, with the win in the bag, with it being clear that there's going to be a second Trump administration. We're going to have a glance at what's coming up. Okay? So before I go there, let me just recap for you, for those who maybe didn't see my previous videos. Since early 2024, when I started talking about the astrology of these elections, I've been consistently saying that it's going to be a massive win for Trump, that Trump is going to be at peak popularity, that he's going to master technologies and communication technologies in a way that has never been seen before, and that there's basically no way for him to lose this unless he's taken out by means of violence or disruptions or some type of freak events that are somehow engineered and constructed for this election to not go through, or by lawfare, by various other means, which obviously, people were trying to take him out in every possible way imaginable. And bar that happening, unless that happened, it was very clear that he would win massively, absolutely massively, right? And I've been saying this in multiple videos, I think 4 or 5 videos since the beginning of the year. And with regards to Kamala Harris, it was also clear that, okay, before, in the build-up, in the last couple of months before this, she would be exposed. Her weaknesses would be exposed. Her vulnerabilities would be exposed in front of the world. And that's what happened, right? And people at that point, they were angry. People were saying, you're not neutral, you're biased, you're stupid, whatever, and all of that. And the astrologers, I'm not going to name names here, but you can find the big astrologers who talk about world events that you can find on YouTube. They were all, what did they say? In the beginning of the year, they were on the fence. They were all like, oh, we don't know. This could go either way. The charts are, not conclusive. And then sort of around the time when this big media hype started to kick in for Kamala Harris, right? This kind of fake media hype that was produced by mass media, right? With all the celebrities and all that kind of, that built up energy, that artificially created energy around her. At that time, the astrologers on YouTube, they came out and they all said like, yeah, actually we looked at the chart and it looks like Kamala Harris, our prediction is now that Kamala Harris is going to win, right? So how's this possible? Are we looking at the same charts? Are we, what's happening here? Do they not know how to read they know how to read the charts. They clearly know how to read the charts when it comes to technical abilities, right? But here's the thing. The charts in astrology, they do not show, it's not the same thing as an accountant looking at, the books for a company, right? Although even there's so much freedom for accountants, right? Like how they cook the books and so on and so forth. It's not what I'm talking about though. It's not, let me give you another example. It's not like when you look at an engineering diagram, right? Engineering diagram for a machine, and you can say, okay, this is going to work out or it's not going to work out, right? That's it. That's it. Astrology is not like that. Why? Because astrology happens on the symbolic, spiritual level. It's on a different plane where it happens. So when you look at a chart, you see a constellation. That constellation is a possibility, a space of possibilities, right? This space of possibilities, it is limited but infinite. Limited but infinite, right? The technical term for this is transfinite, right? Let me explain, and you'll see why this is super relevant, and why this kind of all wraps up while the weave is going to get there, right? So the space is limited but infinite. It means, let's say you're born with this constellation, this set of constellations, right? You, even if you want to, you cannot become Michael Jordan. You cannot become become the greatest athlete of all times unless it's in your destiny. If it's not in your destiny, there's no way that you can say, I'm going to become this, you can't, right? However, you can still become an infinite variety of different things. You can become an infinite variety of different things, but they're all limited by your constellations, by the archetypal, symbolic parameters of your destiny that we read in astrology. So when we look at a chart for what's going to happen to the president, what's going to happen to the country, what's going to happen to a person, right? All of those, we're seeing a space of infinite possibilities. However, they're limited but infinite, right? So in order to be able to read from that space, right? And this is how it's different to let's say, to engineering or to, right? There's something where you're dealing with matter directly. Here you're dealing with spirit. Astrology shows you the cycles that deal with spirit, right? Not just matter directly. So when we want to read a constellation that's about the world, we need something more than just the technical ability to read the charts. We need spiritual awareness. We need a certain spiritual sense, a spiritual intuition. Only then you can correctly read the constellations. Right? Otherwise, you're only staying on the level of the technical, and people are arguing, no, but I saw that this other planet is making an aspect in her solar return chart, and therefore you're full of shit. And, okay, fine, you saw all those technical details, but, chill, and first try to understand that there is higher forces involved in all of this, right? There's higher forces involved that we need to first communicate with them, first understand them, before we can accurately understand then the symbolic constellations that we see in the chart. Astrology is a spiritual science, which is why I am primarily a spiritual teacher, a teacher of spiritual science, which is why on this channel you will see increasingly more and more content on how to develop spiritually as well, right? It's not enough to just learn the technical astrology. I think I've hammered that point home now. So now, why did these astrologers, why are they not able to read this? Because look, I'm going to say it straight up, because a lot of these people, spiritual development is not their thing, right? They're not even interested in that, right? Maybe they're doing a little bit of mindfulness, but it's not their main, it's not like they've given their life, they've dedicated their life to spiritual development, and you have to. It's not a a little bit dabbling a little bit kind of thing. You need to dedicate your life if you want to have spiritual development. So if you don't, you're basically essentially going to be an NPC, right? An NPC. What's an NPC? Spiritually speaking, an NPC is, and I'm not throwing shade, I'm just saying how it is, right? Spiritually speaking, an NPC is somebody who receives their opinions from the consensus trends, from the mass media, basically, right? The mass media creates the consensus trends for people who have not yet developed spiritual awakening, who have not yet had spiritual initiation, right? They receive these opinions and then they think they're their own. It's like in a video game, you speak to an NPC and the NPC says, this is my opinion. The NPC thinks that it's his opinion or her opinion, whereas in reality, it's like the code, the programmer, right? In our reality, that's the mass media. Mass media creates consensus trends. And if you're in that consensus trance, you think that that's how it is. And then, whatever the big news stations and all the celebrities and everybody tell you, you will think that that's your opinion, right? And this is what happens with a lot of these people. This is why, as soon as the consensus trend switches to, oh, this is going to be a big Kamala Harris win, everybody told you so now, from LeBron James to God knows what, Jennifer Lopez to whatnot, right? And at that point, all these astrologers are going to come in and say, oh, this is going to happen, right? Oh, she's going to win. I saw it here. Here's another so-and-so, whatever. Chiron is making an aspect or whatever, right? And then you will always find your reasoning in the astrology because exactly why? Because there are so many ways of interpreting charts. So now what happened? Mass media lost, right? Mass media lost. Scripted media lost. The scripted candidate lost, right? And this is great. This is good for humanity. This is a wake-up call for a lot of people. Again, I'm not throwing shade at these people. I'm just maybe inviting people to take a different perspective on astrology. Start to understand that it's a spiritual science, right? This is an invitation. This is an invitation for you. Right? It's not a scolding, it's an invitation. So why was I so certain that Trump would win? Why was I absolutely certain that unless you take him out, he's going to win? Because if you're in tune with spiritual forces, if you start to communicate with higher intelligences, you will know that Trump has a higher mission, right? He has a higher mission. Now, I've said this before. He's not, the perfect person. He's not like the enlightened guru, the enlightened leader. Is he? Because you're going to say, how if you're spiritual, does that mean that you have to follow? Is Trump somehow a spiritual initiate? No, right? He's not. But he's a flawed person. But he has a mission. He has a specific spiritual mission, right? And what is that mission? He's a sledgehammer. He's a sledgehammer. He's the sledgehammer of the gods that has been sent to take down the edifice of the false consensus media and of the false consensus that was created globally by the elites, right? In order to basically control us, right? In order to control people, in order to keep people in check, in order to keep people within their boxes, within their identities, within their categories. You're this identity, you're this identity, you're this, and that's all you get, right? Don't question what we're doing on the global level. And he's been sent to take that down. He's been sent to take all of that down. And this is why when you see that Jupiter, transiting Jupiter was on his North Node come election time, right? North Node is your karmic mission, right? If you look at the asteroids, I'm going to do that maybe in future videos, we're going to really decode that, right? When you look at the asteroids, you see what his mission is. And then when you see Jupiter is coming, okay, he's getting the blessing of God, really, the blessing of the universe, the blessings of the universe in this period of time, right? And he's going to succeed with that mission, right? Whether that's him being there or not, if he's not there personally, his mission would have still taken that step forward, right? The movement would have taken that step forward, even without him, the MAGA movement, right? The MAGA movement is that sledgehammer that I'm talking about, the sledgehammer of the gods. So does that mean that now that this has happened, does that mean that the globalist elite control over the planet is going to diminish overnight? Does that mean that everything I said before on this channel about the wars, World War III brewing, intensification, escalation of the conflicts, all of that is over? Oh, great, Trump is going to call Putin and Trump is going to call everybody and then just going to quickly, somehow it's all going to, and no, because the story is much too complicated for that. I have been saying before many times here that the time after the elections, right, we have a month from now, right, we have November, December, where we have this Mars-Pluto opposition, which is triggering everybody and everything globally, right, and then that comes back again in April. Think about it. Think about what the script writer, right, of the cosmic drama that we're living in, what it's he's envisioning for us. Right? Think about it. Trump is going to be inaugurated in January, right? From now till January, there's some time. And it's exactly in this time that the first Mars-Pluto opposition falls into this, right? Into this period. So in these couple of months, we're going to see escalation, as sad and unfortunate as it is, because there are people in the world who want the war, who want the World War. They have been basically called out. They have been exposed. Right? They have been exposed for doing so many things. I can't even talk about these things on this channel. My video wouldn't, yourself, like it wouldn't be on here if I spoke about all of these things. But you know it yourself, they have been exposed. And now they have one way to go, right? They have one pathway open, which is when you're exposed, when somebody who's been lying to you forever and exploiting and abusing, and now they're exposed, everybody can see their lies. What can I do? Violence, right? Escalation. It's the only path that's left. So they're pushing for it, and we're going to see escalations everywhere. North Korea, South Korea, Japan, Russia, Ukraine. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be like Trump calls and, no. There is deep karmic entanglement with Trump, Putin, and everybody else in that theater. It's a complex story with the Europeans, right? It's not going to be so easy. It's going to be escalations. Israel is going to be escalating a lot, right? Israel is just starting already to go through this deep process, and Trump is going to be pulled into that hard, right? The U.S. itself, inside the U.S., people are starting to, there is a lot of people who have interests to get people on the street, to start bringing radical elements on the street, radical people on the street, right? And that wouldn't be the first time that happened. So all of this, it's going to escalate in the coming time. We're already seeing it written in the script. We're already seeing it in the script. And by the time Trump comes and takes power, it's going to hit him real hard in April. Right now, you're going to pay attention now. Over the next couple of months, you're going to see some things happen, which by the time Trump comes into power, they're going to fully play out, and he will have to deal with that. And I can tell you this, Trump, in his second term, he's going to have to make some extremely difficult decisions. He will have to make some of the hardest decisions that any politician ever had to make. Right? So this is a big chapter in the history of humanity that we're seeing unfold here. We have the astrology to allow us to decode and understand what's happening. But the astrology is not just a technical tool where you can just read this and then kind of compare notes. No, you need to do the work. It's a spiritual science. You need to develop higher spiritual senses if you want to really use the astrology and deeply see, deeply understand, overstand, right? Overstand and be able to maneuver and be able to align ourselves with God's will, because that's what's ultimately written in the charts and in the harmonies of the celestial cycles. So now, what can we do? First of all, we can hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so yet. Hit the notification bell to make sure you get these videos. We're going to go deeper into these angles from everywhere. I'm glad that I'm happy. I'm very proud and privileged to have people, it doesn't even matter how many you are right now. If it's a lot of you, if it's not, I mentioned it's not that I'm saying, the numbers, how many people are following, it doesn't really matter. I'm happy that there are people, and I know from people who write to me and who contact me that there are people who are benefiting from what we're doing, from what I'm sharing. That's why we're going to share much more of this. And we're going to get much deeper into all the angles. And this is something new because we're going to start to understand astrology as a spiritual science, which is new. All the masters in the past, they knew this. But today, with the majority of people who are practicing it, unfortunately, they have forgotten. So we need to revive this, and this is going to be a collective effort. Right? So in terms of getting involved, in terms of sharing, in terms of group effort, courses, there's going to be a society, a working group, the Ultra Conscious Collective that we're going to launch soon on this channel. Make sure to be involved where and when you can, and until the next time, have some fun. If you're celebrating right now, right? If you're not a part of the people who are fuming and upset, if you're part of the people who are celebrating and seeing Bitcoin all-time highs, have some fun, enjoy yourself, and I see you soon. Be blessed.